to the virtual kickoff event for the SustainAwards on industrial water management. Today we are launching our SustainAward on the topic, and we will also be looking at the perspective on the water management and have an interesting session together with our experts you see here today. Just a brief overview of the agenda today. It will be divided into 3 parts. The first part would be welcoming remarks, followed by input from our 3 states, Bihar, Uttarakhand, and West Bengal, who are here today. This will be followed by best practice session by our industry's experts. And last but not least, the main event is the official launch of the SustainAward, which will be marked by special address by Mr. Vinod Babu Bommatula, Acting Member Secretary, Central Pollution Control Board. We have installed with you an incredible lineup of experts with us in this session. To start off the day, we will start with welcoming remarks by Mr. Raghu Babu Nukala, Project Director, GIZ, followed by Mr. Stefan Halusa, Director General, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce. A quick introduction to our first 2 speakers. Mr. Raghu Babu Nukala is an engineer planner by qualification with over 30 years of experience. He has a postgraduate degree in city planning from IIT Kharagpur. As the current project director at GIZ, he is working on projects related to sustainable industrial development under the Indo-German Development Cooperation. And he has worked previously for the Central Pollution Control Board, Government of India for 17 years. His counterpart, Mr. Stefan Halusa, is the Director General of the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce since April 2001. Prior to joining IGCC, he had worked for almost 30 years in the industry, automotive industry. Started with a career as the assistant to the CEO at Winterling Porcelain AG, followed by a move to Brose in 1997. Brose is, of course, one of the largest family-owned automotive suppliers in Germany, where he held various senior management positions in the headquarters as well as in Asia. And he has served as President Asia, President Korea, and President East Asia. And he has spent 10 years in different Asian countries. I would like to first ask Mr. Raghu Babu Nukala to provide welcoming remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Indras. Thank you also for giving me the opportunity to welcome you all. I take this opportunity to welcome all the attendees. We have 65 attendees at the moment, and we have representatives coming from the Central Pollution Control Board, from Sidkul in Uttarakhand. We have experts who are going to share their best practices, and we have representatives that will, I think, eventually join from West Bengal. I would like to use the opportunity to invite you all for this very important event on SustainAwards 2022 on the topic of industrial water management. To give you a little bit of a background, we under the German Development Cooperation executed a project on environment-friendly industrial production in our phase 1, which lasted until 2019 beginning, in which the main focus was to demonstrate how techniques and technologies can be put in place to improve production processes as well as to reduce pollution.
Mr. Raghu, sorry, can't hear you.
Mr. Raghu, sorry, I think we lost your audio.
We have demonstrated almost 150 success stories. We need also to look at how we can recognize and promote those companies who do well in their operations. And they just not look at only compliance with the regulatory requirements, compliance with the emission limits and discharge limits, but they go way beyond to take care of the environment in their own interest, as well as in the interest of the environment and the communities around them. So we made a small study to check around what kind of incentives exist for those industries who want to go one step beyond compliance. We found there were some incentive schemes launched by the government to provide grant money to, for example, undertake cleaner production and waste minimization, for example. So eventually the government started saying that we do not want to get into financial incentives. And we also have checked in some of our workshops with the industries in the states where we were working in our phase 1. And many industries said they were not even aware of such schemes available for grant funding. And moreover, they said it's not very important for them to get a grant funding, but more important is to get a recognition for their good efforts, because recognition by the public agencies or by any other reputed agency would mean an image building for them and a satisfaction for their own efforts, and that can go a long way in motivating their own people, motivating their own company perspectives to do better in the longer run. And so we said in the current phase of the project, we designed the current phase of the project for the development under the German Development Cooperation to see how can we improve the framework aspects when we want to improve the industrial wastewater management in this country. So we said there are 4 things that are primarily required to be focused upon. One aspect is to look at about our legal framework. Do we have to make it better, or do we have to make changes, especially when the government is talking about responsible care by the companies and trusting the companies on their performances. Second is to look at our organizational structures and processes. How do we engage with the industry and other stakeholders when we make our directives, or when we come out with any guidelines, or when we come out with any norms and specifications. And the third part is about the knowledge products, having guidelines, manuals, and other technical publications which can be used by the industry. And fourth most importantly, we also said you need to have incentive framework, the framework which can facilitate companies, encourage companies, and motivate companies to do much more. As I said already in my first remark, that we have seen that a lot of companies on their own have put in huge efforts towards environment. They perform on their own much better, be it water savings, be it wastewater management, be it recycle, reuse, production process improvements, raw material usage optimization, process units operations optimization, and in so far in many other ways. We have case examples of industries in Delhi, in Uttarakhand, in West Bengal, in Gujarat, where all these success stories were well documented. We have testimonials from the companies. The videos are actually made with the statements of the companies that have actually done the job. So I'm very much convinced that there are several companies across the country who are putting in huge efforts to improve their production processes, and they care for environment, they care for people around them, and they care for the resources that they use. And I think there is a need for us to see how can those be rewarded, how can those be recognized, and use this as an opportunity for others to take that forward. So this is a little bit of a background, and we are also requesting the state agencies as well as central agencies to adopt this mechanism of promotion, which will go a long way while they can continue to do their other parts of regulating and control from the pollution control agencies. But we also have been emphasizing it's so important also to recognize and eventually also consider if those industries who are performing extraordinarily, if they can also be given certain benefits. Need not be financial benefits. It could be benefits, for example, in the form of increasing the validity of their permits. So when companies on their own can do much better and perform far beyond the regulations, why do we not consider giving them some leverage because we can trust them and we know that they are performers. Yeah, this is a little bit of background for us why we came up with this idea, and we are so happy that Indo-German Chamber of Commerce came up with the idea saying that we would like to promote, and I know that they are already doing these kind of awards for the companies. So when they said that we would like to come up with SustainAwards, we were more than happy to tell them that yes, we are here to support you, and it fits very well into our development cooperation in the current project on sustainable and environment-friendly industrial production. Yeah, welcome to all of you once again, and thank you all of you for sparing your time and coming into the session today. And thank you the resource persons who will be sharing your experiences, and thank you all the representatives of the government agencies at the central and the state level who have come to participate in the session today. Yeah, looking forward for good interactions today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raghu Babu. Happy to have you join us. Next, I would like to ask Mr. Stefan Halusa to provide welcome remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Indras. A good afternoon to everyone, to all the participants, and of course, a special warm welcome to all the speakers of this afternoon and to the contributors of this afternoon. Thanks to Mr. Vinod Babu Tula, thanks to Raghu Babu Nukala, and also for setting the context already so brilliantly so that we have a good base for the discussion this afternoon. Thanks to Mr. Kamalakant, to Shri Santosh Sinha, to Mr. Y.S. Pundir, Mr. Sneha Jariwala, and to Mr. Tanvir Ahmed. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, of course, for addressing and also sharing your experience this afternoon. Thanks to Indras for the very kind introduction as well. I just have to make a very small correction. I think you mentioned that I joined IGCC in 2001, but it was actually 2021. So you just made me 20 years older in a split second. But just a small correction. I mean, the importance of this afternoon, I think, is obvious. As we always say, water is the source of all life. So obviously, we need it to survive, to grow, and that is relevant for all of our personal lives, but also, of course, for the economy. And as such, it is also, no surprise that water management is also a very important part of Indo-German cooperations. And that was once again underlined in the joint statements following the India-Germany intergovernmental consultations early May, where both countries repeated their support and confirmed their support for this Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which is water and sanitation, and other water-related goals and targets of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The outcome of the governmental consultations was also the establishment of various water-related cooperations with between India and Germany, where Germany is pledging its expertise and also funding to projects in India. And this is, of course, what we are discussing right now. As I said, water is probably next to air the most important natural resource that we have. And it is remarkable in the case of India that while India makes up to almost 20% of the world's population, it only has access to about 4% of the world's water supply, and that is an obvious mismatch. That is probably going to increase. Even there are projections that the demand for water by the industry alone in India will rise by another 80% within the next few years, and that of course shows the significance of the subject. And industries have a great potential to contributing to effective water management in India and beyond. The numbers that I have is that every day, basically, billions of liters of untreated wastewater are being discharged into Indian rivers and waters. Industrial wastewaters, which in some areas could be contaminated with toxic substances that have the potential to harm the environment and, of course, the human being living in the same area. That is, of course, a huge problem that has already been pointed out. At the same time, and this is how we want to look at it, it's also great opportunities for industries, for companies and industrial parks which have efficient water management system to protect the environment, and also in the long run then will contribute to cost saving benefits from this effective water management. And therefore I think it is high time, and it's very good to have this initiative to highlight and to reward those industries and industry parks which have gone through to great efforts to develop, to build, and to operate water management systems with the target of long-term sustainability. Therefore, I'm very happy to be here, to be able to join you from Germany today in the presence of our esteemed guests and industry leaders to kick off our joint initiative that we do together with our partners, Sustainable Urban and Industrial Development, GIZ India, as we roll out the SustainAwards 2022 to honor those companies and which have an excellent contribution of industries and industrial waste water management. So thanks to all again for joining, and with that I'm looking forward to very interesting and insightful conversations this afternoon. Thank you very much, and with that, Indras, back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raghu Babu and Mr. Halusa, for the kind opening remarks and highlighting the importance of foremost creating an initiative to award those outstanding contribution of industries in water management. We now move to the next part, but before we do that, I would like to welcome Mr. Tiramurthy from the Central Pollution Control Board. Welcome, sir, and yeah, happy to have you here.
Thank you.
And we move to the next session where we welcome our representative from the states of Bihar, Uttarakhand, and West Bengal. And we have three very well-known speakers joining us today. Before I introduce you to the first speaker, a short note to all of our participants who are joining from your home and offices today. You can interact and ask questions by typing on the questions box, yeah? And keep your comments and questions coming. We will answer them at the end of the session. On your control panel, you will also see the handout section where you can view today's agenda in PDF format. You can download it and look at the agenda in real life. To our next session, part of the session rather, our first speaker in this part is Mr. Y.S. Pundir. Can you hear and see us, sir?
Yes, I can see you, everyone. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Y.S. Pundir is the architect, planner, and PIO, from the State Infrastructure and Industrial Development Corporation of Uttarakhand. He is responsible for planning and development of all industrial areas and estates across Uttarakhand. He worked as architect planner in SIDA since 2005 till date. Mr. Pundir has decades of experience in planning and designing of various buildings and industrial parks, including an area of about 12,000 acres across the state of Uttarakhand. Welcome, Mr. Pundir. Happy to have you with us. Looking forward to you sharing your insight on how do industrial water management play an important role in your region, and how does SustainAwards can support industrial growth. Over to you, Mr. Pundir.
Thank you, everyone, for giving me this opportunity, and it is my privilege and honor to be part of this esteemed, panel. Thank you. Yeah, I would first of all, I would like to brief you about SIDCUL. What is SIDCUL doing in the state? Basically, we are into industrial development across the state, and we have recently developed, seven industrial areas across the state. Majorly, the one which is about 3,300 acres in Pantnagar, very close to Pantnagar University, which is one of the best agriculture university in the country. And then another big area is Haridwar, which is, everybody knows about Haridwar. It is a very pilgrimage center for, all the citizens of the country, and which is comprising of about almost 1,800 acres of land. The best part of Sitkul is we develop industrial estate in an integrated fashion, where you have all the facilities for the workers, for the upper and the lower level workers, officers, where you have the residential facility, we have the commercial facility, we have recreational facility, and transportation facility, the green areas, all in a balanced, in a very well organized manner. If we talk about Pantnagar, we have 3,300 acres of land, which was developed way back in 2003, 2004. See, everybody knows it's a newly born state. It's been hardly 22 years now, or phase now, and we have been working continuously in focusing on industrial development, and in terms of optimizing our resources, in terms of sustainable development, and if we talk about the industrial water management, we have a couple of practices which are being adopted throughout the state. If we talk about the industrial areas which we have developed, we plan to have the common effluent treatment plants all our industrial estates, majorly Pantnagar and Haridwar, which accommodates about 550 industries, approximately numbers. Majorly, if you talk about the sectors, majorly the automobile sector, we have the presence of major automobile manufacturers like Tata. We have Ashok Leyland, we have Bajaj automobile, along with their big number of vendors also. Now, in terms of recycling of water, we try to do it in a very organized manner, and if you look at the we don't allow much of drawing of water from the ground, and that is in a very regulated manner. If any industry, water intensive industry wants to draw water, so he has to seek permission from Central Groundwater Authority, CGWS, which allows only if there is no provision of withdrawing water, or the provision of water, which is in Uttarakhand. We have Uttarakhand Jal Sansthan, or other agencies who facilitates the industry. If they fail to provide that facility, then only the NOC is being provided to the industry, and then only he can just draw the water from the ground, so which maintains the water levels. And on the other part, we have a very regulated building bylaws, which don't allow waste of water, and as a mandatory requirement, you have to have a rainwater harvesting provision also, as per the National Building Code norms. Yeah. So to start with, we just have developed 7 industrial estates across Uttarakhand, and we don't allow individual industry to draw water from the ground. This is how we try to go in future also. And as I talked about the integrated part, we have multi-modal logistic park in Pantnagar, which is a joint venture with the Concor, Container Corporation of India, which facilitates the logistics part in a very organized and in a very systematic manner. Yeah, please go next, please. Yeah, if we talk about Harbaugh, it is very well connected to the NCR region and very close to the Jolly Grant Airport. And the international airport, as everybody knows, it is the Delhi Airport, Indira Gandhi International Airport, which is about 225 kilometers from this place. The major players who are working in our industrial area is Mahindra, Hero Motocorp is the largest plant in the world who's into manufacturing of two-wheeler motorcycles. Then you have ITC, then you have Hindustan Unilever, the FMCG. Yeah. Please go ahead. Next, please. Yeah, this is the layout plan of Haridwar, where we have the facility of. I can just show it to you here. We have that the CETP in place. We have the residential area. We have commercial area. Then we have the limit. We had certain limitations also because we are surrounded by a national park, which is known as Rajaji National Park. So we had those limitations of maintaining that buffer. Then we have a huge catchment area, which flows from all the way from Rajaji National Park to the Rauli Rao River. So we have a lot of limitations in terms of the controlled wastewater management. So that was a challenge for us. Yeah, next please. Yeah, this is a small industrial area which is developed in Dehradun, which is known as IT Park, which is about 98 acres of land. We don't have much of industries. We just have IT industries only, which are zero polluting industries. Next, please. Then we have developed a pharma city, which is a very special sector for Uttarakhand, and we have all good brands which are which have set up in Uttarakhand, in Dehradun itself. Good companies, and it is comprising of about 200 acres of land, very close to Dehradun town, with all the facilities in terms of good infrastructure, the connectivity. Yeah, next please. This is the layout plan of the Selap industrial area, which it is about 20 kilometers from Dehradun town. Yeah, next please. This is a small industrial area again, which is very close to the nature. It is in Kordwar, which is about 250 odd kilometers from Delhi, and it's a very good scenic area all around. We have good companies here. We have majorly we have Wipro, then we have Patanjali. Everybody knows about Patanjali nowadays. Yeah. Next please. This is the layout plan of the Kordwar area. Next please. Yeah. This is Sitarganj, which is again almost 300 kilometers from NCR region. This was developed in phased manner, where initially we had a JV with a private player, where we developed about 1100 acres of land as industrial township, which is almost sold out now. Now we have recently started phase 2 of it, which is about 1800 acres, which comprises of good industries like DS Group. You have Parley, you have Balaji Action, which is into plywood manufacturing, and good wood industry. Then you have Indian Oil. Now we are coming up with a plastic park as per the Government of India scheme, that is known as Plastic Park scheme. We have recently started the infra work there, which is in an area of about 50 acres, where we'll accommodate all the good high-end plastic manufacturers of the country, with the facility of the CIPET Center, which is known as Central Institute of Plastic Engineering and Technology Center, along with the MSME Technology Center, which will definitely support the industries in terms of research, in terms of certification. That will be a great help for the upcoming industries. Next, please. Yeah, this is Kashipur industrial area, where this is also again into initial stage of development, where we are coming up with the aroma park, which is a very niche sector and a good sector for Uttarakhand, because we have good produce in terms of aromatic plants, and which will help these industries to come up. And again, with the aroma park, we have in this industrial state only, we are coming up with the electronic manufacturing cluster with the help of Government of India, with the METI scheme, which has been recently launched by Government of India, which is known as EMC 2.0. And we are taking the help of Government of India to approve our project. We have recently submitted, and hopefully it will be done in another maximum 2 months of coming days, 2 months time. Yeah, where we have we have already signed with good players. I cannot name those companies, but they are really good, and which they have shown interest as an anchor player. Their interest as an anchor player. So they will be investing about minimum 150 crores. So that is also a very upcoming area where we have IIM Kashipur also, in just bang opposite to this upcoming area. Next, please. Yeah, these are the major reasons of investing in Uttarakhand. You have law and order facilities, law and order controlled, this thing. We don't have labor issues. We don't have challenges in terms of logistics. You don't have the the transport associations who most of the country areas, other states, you have that disruptions in terms of the associations who play a very negative role, transport associations, which they have the monopoly, all that kind of issues we don't face in Uttarakhand. It is a very seamless and smooth functioning of industries in Uttarakhand, and we are very competitive in terms of the land rates, in terms of the pollution norms, in terms of the electricity charges. We are the cheapest in the country. That is one of the reasons which we we are at one of the best levels in the country. Next, please. Yeah, these are the major reasons. We are investor friendly policies, then political stability. Everybody knows we have a very stable government in Uttarakhand, and the quality of life is good in terms of, we have a very good quality of air. Yeah, thank you. Next, please. These are the major players which we have accommodated in our industrial areas, pan Uttarakhand. Next, please. Yeah, next, please. Yeah, we have recently approved some textile parks in Uttarakhand, where we have land parcels about 150 acres to 50 acres also in three areas in Uttarakhand. One is in Kashipur, one is in Sitarganj. Next, please. This is we have already talked about this. We have this is a plastic park which we are coming up in Sitarganj in an area of about 40 to 50 acres. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah, this is a very good sector. Wellness tourism is, Uttarakhand is known for this sector, and we have beautiful sites in Uttarakhand. If anybody wants to invest in wellness and tourism in hospitality sector, we have a different department, dedicated department which is known as Uttarakhand Tourism Development Board. And apart from that, we have a few sites. I'll just show you the next slide, please. Yeah, this is one of the best sites in Uttarakhand. It is known as Madan Negi, which is about almost 12 hectares of land next to Teri Lake. It is one of the largest dam in Asia, and I think this is the largest earthen dam in the world, one of the largest in the world, earthen dam. Yeah, so it is this land parcel is just abutting this lake, which overviewing the entire lake. Beautiful scenic area. I would request from your side also, if any investor can intend to set up a resort, wellness resort in Uttarakhand, is most welcome. Yeah, it is well connected with the ropeway also. Next, please. We have a few land banks which are in the pipeline. Next, please. We are coming up with a small pharma city phase 2 after getting a good success in developing the pharma city phase 1. So we have a good demand of pharma industry in Uttarakhand. Next, please. Yeah, this is the Charba area. Then we have a Nepa farm, which we have a absolutely a virgin area, which is very close to Jim Corbett Park. It is a very well known tourist destination. This land parcel is huge, approximately 800 acres, which is again we are planning to develop it as a tourist village or good tourist destination. Yeah, thank you. Next, please. This is the layout plan, tentative layout plan. Next, please. Yeah, Bhimtal it's a small industrial area which was developed way back in early 80s. Now it is almost saturated, and we have good industries, which is very close to Nainital, which is one of the good districts, hill districts, and beauty all around. Yeah. Next, please. This is a new project which we are focusing on nowadays. It is in collaboration with NIC DIC, which is National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation, and SIDCUL, which is where we are 50% each share, and the IMC, which is the Integrated Manufacturing Cluster, we are planning to develop in a very organized manner, and where we have our equity as the land, which is about 102 acres, and Government of India, NICDC, will put their money in developing this the infrastructure for this state. Yeah. Next, please. Next, please. That's it. Yeah, this is all what we have as of now, and and I'm here to learn from you guys in terms of best practices, because we have the, much more experienced people who have already worked in this, and I've already shared my views, my ideas, my work till now. I would like to hear from all of you in this session, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pundir, for the very insightful presentation, very wide-ranging sectors as well, from industry, manufacturing, all the way to hospitality as well. We do have some technical difficulty with the other two speakers. Mr. Kamalakant will be joining us later. So in that case, we'll move on to the next part of the session, where we take a look at the best practices from the industries. And indeed, we have two very experienced gentlemen here with us. Mr. Sneha Jariwala, welcome, and can you hear us and see us?
Yes, yes, I can see you.
Great, welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes,
thank you.
We can hear you perfectly. Thank you. Welcome, and very happy that you can make it. So the first speaker on our best practice session is Mr. Sneha Jariwala. He's the head of Head Environment, Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited. A short introduction about him. In his current role at Adani Ports, he ensures statutory and legal compliances with environmental laws and regulations such as environmental clearance and compliance, coastal regulation zone clearance and compliance, among others, for all ports and logistics sites across India. He leads the environmental impact assessment studies and plays a key role in making informed decisions in accordance with various rules and regulations, beg your pardon, led out by the Central Pollution Control Board and the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for various MNCs. Mr. Jariwala, again, happy that you can make it. We look forward to hearing about your company's best practices on industrial water management. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Can slide be presented by someone?
Yes, the slide is on, and can you see the slide?
Yes.
Yes.
So, good afternoon to all. First of all, thank you so much to the Indo-German Chamber of Commerce and to all the participants for allowing me to present the same. So today we are going to discuss about the various water conservation initiative taken by the Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited, and how we are operating for the wastewater treatment plants. Next. Next. So Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone Limited is the largest commercial port operator in India, accounting for nearly 1/4 of the cargo movement in the country. Its presence across 12 domestic ports in 7 maritime states, and we have the multi-product SEZ land bank also available in the Mundra, that is accounting around 12,000 plus hectare area. An integral approach through ports SEZ logistics enables presence across the value chain. All facilities of the APSEZ are equipped with the efficient pollution control devices, including wastewater treatment plants, and hence utilizing 100% of the treated wastewater. SEZ is having CETP, that is Common Effluent Treatment Plant, to treat all the effluents generated from the different industries. Currently in Mundra, around 45 industries are set up, and we are treating the 100% of that treated water and utilizing for the horticulture and the gardening purpose. Next. So this slide shows the overall the water performance and the various withdrawal sources from the including of all the ports, that is 12 ports, SEZ at the Mundra, and all the logistics sites. So this we are covering as a part of our integrated report, and that we are publishing. Next. So from the top management, we have taken various targets, and we are achieving these targets, and we are on the track. So we are measuring the our water consumption from the year 2016, and we are trying to reduce with the our based efforts, with the based policies. Next. APSEZ has the its own water strategy. In addition to the quality, health, safety, and the environment policy, we have started the implementing the water conservation initiatives and tracking its performance since year 2016. APSEZ believe in the egalitarian sharing of the water among the community and business by conserving the shared natural resources. Nearly 67% of total water demand of the APSEZ during the financial year 2021 was sourced from the non-shared resources, out of which 41% was comprised of the desalinated seawater. As you all are aware that using the desalinated seawater is almost 3 times higher than the normal conventional water what we get from the surface water. APSEZ has already achieved the B rating in the CDP water security. This is an affirmation of the APSEZ towards the robust water management strategy. Next. So while doing any planning for the water conservation and the wastewater treatment plants, we do proper assessment of the same. So we analyze the things, we do the proper planning, how the water will be obtained, from which resource it will be obtained, how to make sure that we don't take the much of the groundwater first. At the first instance, we try to avoid the groundwater as well as the surface water. Then we do the construction and the operational assets planning also, how water can be best utilized. Next. So as a APSEZ, we have a goal that no effluent leaves our premises treated or the untreated. Adhering to our policy commitment, APSEZ established zero effluent discharge process at all our locations, including the port and the SEZ. The system ensures that the effluent which is treated at our indigenous treatment plant is routed into the system and utilized for the activities that do not need the potable water. Treated effluents are used for the horticulture purposes and the dust separation at our dry cargo handling ports. Next. So these are the whatever I earlier also mentioned, these are our water performance, and we have already obtained the B rating in the CDP water security in our first disclosure itself. Next. So we are taking various water conservation initiatives, and for the water conservation initiatives such as the utilization of the 100% of the wastewater from the various sources. In addition to that, we have the site-specific strategy plan for the water and the water management plan for reducing our reliance on the fresh water and reducing water use. We have created various rainwater harvesting structures at maximum site possibles, and in addition to that, for the community also, we are actively working on that, and we have constructed various check dams, revival of the village ponds, borewell recharge, etc. So we are working in consultation with the community, and we are doing the various water conservation initiative for the community also. Next. So this is a classical case study of the Mundra, where we have around the 6.255 MLD of the total capacity of the effluent treatment plant and the sewage treatment plant, where we are doing 100% treatment of our wastewater as well as the sewage in our plants. We have the different technology available at different STPs, like we have the aerobic digestion technology, then we have the fluidized aerobic bioreactor, then we have the membrane bioreactor, then we have the polyvinyl alcohol gel technology. So we have explored the different technologies, and we are measuring the results of each technology, and then based on the experience we are putting the best technology at our different locations. So as you are aware that Mundra is the largest port and the SEZ facility. So we are treating this water completely and utilizing this water for the dust suppression and the gardening purpose. Next. In addition to that, we are taking the various efforts to reduce the water consumption. In the year 2014, I was heading the Mundra port and the SEZ. Then I moved to the head office here. So at that time, we thought to implement the install the water-free urinals at our various office premises. So when this idea came into our mind, so our first problem was the psychological problem, whether it will work or not, how the people will perceive about that. So myself and our CEO, Captain Unmesh Abhyankar, decided that first we install at our office premises where we sit, and if it goes well, then we should implement across the port sector. At our entire port region. So we have observed for the 6 months, and now that practice has been implemented across our various ports, SEZ area, and even at our Ahmedabad office area also. So we have reduced the water consumption at a very large scale. The second project what we took in the year 2015 is about the water maker, which makes the water from the air. So we have installed these two facilities, which is a scientifically proven, and people who visit the Mundra port, so at the visitor lobby we have put this machine, so they are taking the water from this particular water maker machine. In addition to that, we have taken various initiatives to reduce the water consumption using the water spray nozzles. Even we are using the condensate water from the generated from the HVACs. So our plan is to first plan is to reduce the water consumption, and then whatever the waste water generated, to treat them and utilize within the premises. That is what our main aim is. Next. We are also doing various awareness program, and we also involve various employees to participate in various drives such as the water conservation drive. So they give their opinion also how the further water consumption can be reduced, what other initiatives can be taken off. So we are regularly doing that. So one of the photograph is seen in that. So people give the suggestion, based on the same certain suggestions are implemented, and other suggestions are again brainstormed and further they are implemented. So one of the suggestion was to installing the sprinklers for the gardening and the horticulture purpose. So we have implemented across all the sites. Next. So Kutch region is the arid region where there is always a scarcity of the water. So in the near to our SEZ area, there is a Mundra town and another one village, Nana Kapaya. So from that village and the particularly Mundra town, we are bringing the untreated sewage, that is around 2 million liter per day, to our facility, and we treat that particular sewage and utilizing that treated water into our gardening purpose or the for the dry cargo, our dry cargo suppression thing. So this is a classical example where we are doing the sanitization of the particularly town and the village area, as well as we are utilizing the water after the treatment, and we have laid the pipeline, so it is a permanent solution, and you can see the pipeline laid into the our SEZ area. This entire project has been the expenditure has been done by the Adani Ports and the Special Economic Zone. Next. So another classical example or the case study at our Hazira port, which is located in the Gujarat. So we have done the MOU with the CRIPCO to provide the 2000 kiloliter per day of the treated wastewater, resulted in the reduction of the fresh water footprint in a cost effective and the environmental friendly manner. For this program, we have laid the pipeline of the 14 kilometer from treatment facilities to port at our own cost. This resulted in reduction of freshwater footprint. In the financial year 2021, 628 million liter of our water requirement of Hazira port. Next. This is another example where we are providing the various water filters through our Adani Foundation team. Adani Foundation is the CSR arm of our Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone. So where the people are not getting the fresh water, we are providing the fresh water to the surrounding community under the CSR activities. Next. So our Adani Foundation team is also running the Swajal project, where they are providing various water conservation support to the surrounding communities, and under this program they do the activities such as the deepening of the pond, construction of the rainwater harvesting structures, construction of the check dams. So likewise they are carrying out the different projects based on the scientific assessment, and they do the consultation with the public that which project is the best to implement, and based on that particular feedback, the project is being implemented by the Adani Foundation. Next. So these are the some of the data related to the Swajal projects. That 21 check dam has been created near the Mundra, 52 ponds has been deepened, 75 borewells has been created, 31 wells has been created, 75 structures of the rooftop harvesting has been created, 75 projects of the drip irrigation has been installed in the various areas in consultation with the farmers. Next. So another project at the Marmagua Port Trust. So we are in process to bring the untreated sewage from the nearby village, that is Baina, and once that pipeline work will be completed, we will be treating the sewage at our premises, and we will be utilizing in our operation treated water. Next. So this is a case study of our Dahej port. Dahej port is located in Gujarat near Bharuch. So under this project, what we did earlier, we used to take the water from the Gujarat Infrastructure Development Corporation, that is the GIDC, and we were 100% dependent on this particular source. In the year 2012-13, there was a very less rainfall, and GIDC expressed that they cannot further supply water to us. So we took this initiative, and whatever the water generated near to our industry, that is from the Petronet LNG, so that 100% treated water we are taking into our operation. Until date, we have taken 5,68,910 kiloliter of the treated wastewater from the LNG terminal, and 100% we are utilizing in our operations. So our operations are basically coal handling over there, so we are utilizing for the dust suppression. And through this project, we have done the total cost saving of around 193 lakhs rupees. Next. This is a case study of the Gangavaram port, which is located in the Andhra Pradesh, where we have the pond. We have created the pond over there, and through this pond, around 120 million liter of the water is stored, and it is utilized for the nursery development over there and for the gardening purpose. Now currently the depth of this pond is around 8 feet. Further we are going to increase the depth up to 12 feet, so that will now be able to store the 175 million liter of the water. So that project is going on, and we soon completing this particular project. Next. So this is a recent photograph. Recent award has been given to the Adani Foundation for that excellent work in the water conservation area by the CII. So thank you so much for providing the opportunity to Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone, and we are happy to work for the water conservation and the wastewater treatment plants.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jariwala, for the 360-degree overview of the planning assessment and all the way to the use cases of treated water to improve the lives of the community as well. We do have some questions already from the participants for you, so do stick around. In the meantime, let me welcome Mr. Bomatula. I hope you can hear and see us. Yeah, you joined right in time. We do have one more speaker from the industry before your turn. So allow me to first introduce Mr. Tanvir Ahmed. Mr. Tanvir, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yes. So the next best practice from our industry is Mr. Tanvir Ahmed, Managing Director of Harbaugh India Private Limited. Pleasure, Mr. Tanvir. Him and his company are. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of background noise. Yeah. Mr. Tanvir Ahmed and his company has done tremendous work with the government on groundwater projects. He is an expert on water management and is a well-known and eminent member of the Indo-German business community. Mr. Ahmed is fluent in German and shuttle frequently between India and Germany. Mr. Ahmed, thank you for joining us. I do request you to provide your input and stick to the time limit. The floor is yours.
Yes, Raju Mishra is dealing on that. And WhatsApp. Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Tanvir.
Yes, okay. Good afternoon, dignitaries, speaker, presenter, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you very much, IGCC, and to give me this opportunity to present our case study. Thank you very much. Before I start with my presentation, a little bit about Harbaugh. Harbaugh India is the 100% subsidiary of Harbaugh Germany, sitting in Berlin, and we belong to the holding group, comprises with the 42 number of companies. We do water treatment plant, ETP, STP, any kind of water we can treat. We can treat also soil, we can treat also air. So having said that, please, next slide, please. So this is the contents of our presentation. The challenges in industrial wastewater management, as you know, that the sources are surface groundwater or seawater, and this water are being used either for agriculture or domestic industry. The issues is increasing water demand and decreasing water supply. So what is the solution? So next slide, please. It's also affects in our environment also. Overall raise of water pollution. Next slide, please. We talked about the recycling or zero liquid discharge, why it is required, because of their compliance regulation. Also, water use needs to be minimized to allow continue the industrial growth. So next slide, please. You know that how we can reduce the water consumption and reuse and recycling. I mean, these are the ways we can save the water. So Harbaugh India is contributing a little bit in terms of water management. Basically, Harbaugh India is still working in India, still in the field of rural drinking water supply. So it would be very interesting to show you how we are also contributing reduce the water consumption. So next slide, please. We are sitting in West Bengal, in Kolkata. Our client is Public Health Engineering Department of West Bengal. So we installed bigger size of smart iron and arsenic removal plant. While we are extracting water from the groundwater and passing through the water through the various filter bed. First we do the oxidation, then iron and the arsenic, and then we are supply the water of the OHR over a reservoir, and from there through the pipeline the water are supplying to the consumer. So why this project is so special? Please go to the next slide. So these are the capacity of the plant and where we have installed. So next slide, please. So this is the real picture. We use this is our own technology how to remove arsenic, and there is a difference between the other technology like river osmosis. We use the absorption technology. The one thing we need is that we have to regular basis we have to do the backwash, and to do the backwash we have to use the treated water. And the idea was to convince the PhD that how we can use or reuse the backwash water again, because there's a lots of water is wasted. But the main point is that our technology, we always say that we have anyway no wastage of water except this backwash water. So we work together with the PhD and install these plants. How we can reuse again the backwash water. So next slide, please. This is the just flow diagram. This, as I said, the oxidation, iron removal, arsenic removal, and chlorination. And this is also fully automated plant. Next slide, please. So, we also using the central SCADA. The crucial part was when needs to be do the backwash, when not. So that's why this SCADA, this automation is also helping us, especially the operator in the rural areas. And the data you can see from your mobile or from your office on the dashboard, how the performance of the plant. So next slide, please. So this is how it looks like. So I think that the people who working with the PhD or rural areas, I don't think that you have seen such beautiful plant anywhere under the PhD. Next slide, please. So this is the test result of our plant. So you can see how our removal efficiency. And this red one is the raw water, and the blue one is the treated water. So next slide, please. So this is very important slide. So I wanted to show you how it looks like the backwash water. So this is the backwash water from the iron removal, and we are passing this backwash water through the sludge separation bed. And next slide, please. And this is the water we are again using. So basically, this is the sludge separation bed through the pipeline, and clear water from sludge separation bed collected in the reservoir tank. So you see how we are cleaning the backwash water, and it's almost again the clean water, but we again this water get again recycled. So this is a graph where you can say that plant capacity and how much water is getting recycled again. So next slide, please. So this is the Excel sheet where you can see that a plant capacity of 57 km per hour, backwash water required from iron removal plant once in alternate days 45 km, and the backwash water from the arsenic removal plant once a month 27 km. So that's why it's so important and so unique that we are basically saving so much backwash water by recycling this and retreated this water again. Otherwise, this backwash water get wasted. So under the Jal Jeevan mission, I can tell you that such kind of facilities is not there. So we are doing in the West Bengal, and we hope that the government policy will be adapted this kind of technique. Okay, next slide. So this is the image of our plant. So thank you very much. I hope that I kept my time within my limits. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tanvir, for not only giving us a really good insight, but also keeping within your time. We really appreciate you being here today. Without much further ado, before we go to the official launch of the award, I would like to welcome Mr. Kamala Khan. Mr. Kamala Khan, can you hear us?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Kamalakan Pulikonda. I am the Executive Director, West Bengal Industrial Development Corporation, under the Industries and Commerce Department of West Bengal. Am I audible to everyone, please?
Yes, yes, you are, Mr. Kamal, and thank you for joining us during your busy schedule. Just as before you speak, I would like to introduce you to everybody. Mr. Kamalakan, like he said, is the Executive Director for West Bengal Industrial Development Corporation. For those of you in West Bengal, you probably already know him as the stalwart industry champion from the region. Experience in many aspects of water management. Without further ado, Mr. Kamalakan, welcome, and the floor is yours. Tell us how industrial water management play an important role in the growth of your region.
Thank you. Thank you for the brief introduction. And there are three sources of water for the industries in our state. One is from the Damodar Valley Corporation, that is the Damodar River catchment side, which is taken from the excess outflow post consideration for irrigation based on the rainfall. So you have the Panchet Dam in Purulia district. Here we are into a water sharing with Jharkhand state, also post the separation of state of Jharkhand from Bihar. Now the second source is directly from the groundwater. Our state has been very cautious in terms of groundwater utilization. So we are not encouraging industries to utilize groundwater. Now third is from various municipal sources itself through water projects of the state from its own sources. Now based on the nature of the industry, its location, its requirement of water, requests are made to the corresponding agencies and water is provided to them. However, when it comes to construction requirement, that is at the time of civil construction, based on the locality, restricted access and permission is given for going for deep borewell for the construction purpose. Now that when I say restricted access, it is very strictly with respect to the location. Suppose if the industry is falling in a red zone, then the permission is not given, which means he has to source from a third party. That is how the water utilization for the industries is being done. Our state has also been encouraging both in terms of agriculture as well as industries through its very humane touch schemes like Jal Dhoro, Jal Bhoro Yojana, right? Mati Srishti scheme. So even for agriculture also, it focuses on conservation of water and utilization. For the industries, reuse and recycling has been the norm. And also conservation of water. You are mandated to make provision for water conservation in your industry premises. I was pleased to see the presentation of Harbaugh just a short while ago on the way they have planned and they're executing the manufacturing process and also the water management. Accordingly, many of our industries also adopt such similar procedures. Now, as you know, the largest inland waterways chain under the national waterways is through the state. That is the Ganges longest stretch comes through the state. It's almost about 700 kilometer stretch, taking into account all its tributaries. So we have certain small jhoras, which we call side canals, etc., going and meeting into Ganges, and ultimately all these rivulets and streams go and meet into the Bay of Bengal. The irrigation department monitors the normal channels where the water is utilized and channelized and finally discharged into the sea. We have very strict policy in terms of discharge into these canals. So an industrial wastewater per se cannot be discharged into these canals. It's a no. All red category industries are mandated to go for ZLD, zero liquid discharge process. And industries which are non-red category, even those industries can only discharge their storm water. That is the rainwater discharge which comes through and it goes through a natural flow. So the conceptualization of industrial parks by the state, which are whether they are government owned, like WBIDC develops industrial parks, or privately encouraged parks through state approved industrial park scheme. We have a very focused specialized scheme for private park development called the SAIP scheme, which is very unique to the state and perhaps unique in the country, where the state promises to bring the doorstep power connectivity, utility and other facilities to the private developer. That means the private developer purchases the land on his own with a minimum of about 5 acres and goes on to develop the SAIP parks. Now, in this aspect also, the focus is to see how the water is effectively utilized and conserved. Right. Now, we also go into development of very focused industrial parks, like a module-based parks. For example, we have one of its kind diamond-shaped Manikanchan Industrial Park for gems and jewelry, which is now under the SEZ space. We have Ankurhati Gems and Jewelry Park. This Ankurhati Gems and Jewelry Park has been developed as a state-of-the-art module-based industrial park by the government through WBIDC, where we have a common air scrubber also. That means not only water, where we have a common water treatment plant and a CETP in place with a zero liquid discharge, but also we have taken precaution in terms of having a common air scrubber so that the discharge of the exhaust fumes by all these units which are operating goes through this common scrubber, and you get almost near atmosphere discharge coming outside through the foams. Both air and the water are taken care of here. That is precisely so. This was well appreciated during the submissions of the National Green Tribunal, which is a green tribunal body offshoot of the apex court of the country. And the Howrah district, this unique facility was given due consideration. Like this, we have several such module-based parks as well as land-based parks, both of the government and the private industrial parks. Having said this, this region being in the eastern region, logistics is coming up in a big way. Already there is close to 12 million square feet of warehousing, modern warehousing facilities that have come up. The recent COVID pandemic has also encouraged these logistics aspects. So we are going to foresee much bigger thrust in this, whether it is inevitable. The digital intervention is going to help us in monitoring the utilization of the space in the movement of vehicles. The fortunate part is logistics per se requires very minimal amount of water, where it is possible to go for a complete integrated reuse plan for such facilities. So we are going to encourage such complete reuse facility for the logistics parks, whatever comes into development henceforth. So gentlemen, we have given you a very quick brief on the purely on the water-based aspect, but there is a state energy action plan which is being developed, which looks at sustainability in the years to come. So we are also focusing on clean energy, where we are encouraging CNG-based utilization. We are also encouraging electric vehicles, and we have the piped gas supply. The largest project of Gas Authority of India, GAIL, through Jagdishpur, Haldia, is through West Bengal, and we have encouraged industries to utilize this. And there is also availability of coal bed methane gas. Industries are running through that as well. There is thus a very holistic exercise in terms of a futuristic adaptation of green energy and clean energy aspects in energy utilization and consumption. So this, gentlemen, is from my end, and I wish all the organizers huge success in this kickoff seminar. And I thank them for giving me this opportunity to share a quick brief on how the state is geared up in terms of meeting the future sustainability demands. And we hope to encourage sustainable development through the industrialization in West Bengal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamalakan. It was great to see that the insights you provide on not only business growth, but also on sustainability, sustainable business growth. Thank you for having participated today. Now I would like to ask Mr. Vinod Babu Bumtula to share his webcam along with Mr. Raghu Babu and Mr. Stefan Halusa for the official launch of SustainAwards 2022 on industrial water management. Before we go to you for your special address, Mr. Vinod, let me introduce you to the participants. Mr. Vinod Babu Bomatula, Acting Member Secretary, Central Pollution Control Board and Director. He has completed engineering on environment from IIT Kharagpur and has over 20 years of field experience in industrial pollution control, including environmental audits of industries in the northern and eastern parts of India. Later, for the next 12 years, he gained experience in industrial and other waste management related issues, including RE and circular economy initiatives. Mr. Vinod Babu is also the leading digital transformation of CPCB, apart from several other IT initiatives. He is presently working as director of CPCB. Over to you, Mr. Vinod Babu. Thank you for having us. The floor is yours. We are not able to hear you. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Thank you, Mr. Alusa and respected dignitaries here from IGCC. Sorry, I couldn't join in the earlier session. I've been suddenly given the charge and preoccupied with multitasking CPCB. So first of all, I would like to congratulate IGCC, Indo-German Chamber of Commerce, for this initiative. It is well required. It's needed or need of the time. So before going much into detail, I would like to give a brief perspective of CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, and also I would like to give a brief perspective on what are the regulatory frameworks we have on this subject. CPCB has been working in these areas of water conservation, and mainly it is very important because of more the water into the waste streams, it carries the more pollutants, and it adds to the cost of treatment. And again, when you treat any effluent, the inefficiencies, the poor efficiency of treatment leads to contaminated leading into the environment. This is a major concern. If you look, we have been preparing comprehensive industry documents since beginning. So in these documents, we have elaborated since 80s. We have been preparing these documents. But when we come to these documents, pave the way for development of standards, or national emission and discharge standards. So in these documents, we have always dealt with the subject of water consumption and wastewater generation, and specific wastewater generation for a given process. When you come into the regulatory standards, unfortunately, we have very limited standards for discharge of quantum discharge of wastewater. We have concentration specific standards, but we do not have load specific standards, except for few industries like pulp and paper industry, we have that, and steel industry we have discharge with respect to the product delivered. So that is called specific wastewater generation standards. So we are sure that we need to work in those areas. But if you look at our old standards for specific water consumption in pulp and paper and other industries, many industries have already surpassed it. Thanks to one of the initiatives, GIG Indian office is helping CPCB in working with the textile and other industries in Ganga Basin. We have introduced a charter on waste minimization where the technological interventions can be made to minimize the consumption as well as generation of wastewater. So these interventions are need of the hour. And nowadays we are talking about SDG. SDG 6, I think it is specifically talks about water and wastewater, and especially minimizing the contamination of water as well as conserving the resource as a water. While we have been working on resource conservation these days, a big way in various material, and water is one of it. I would like to bring to your notice that even sewage standards in future we'll be talking about utilization of sewage is one of the biggest. Treated sewage is one of the biggest aspects. So these all things are aimed at minimizing the wastewater and also at the same time adhering to the standards even for reuse and utilization. There should not be a substandard effluent going into the recycling or cleaning sector. That is also very important. So we may have to look into the standards of reuse, recycling and reuse. This is also very important. Coming back to our point here, the initiative taken by IGCC. So if you look into a regulator perspective, I would appreciate this point is because when you look into the regulatory perspective, we look at only standards in this perspective. But with the help of by adopting a environmentally sustainable water conservation and utilization means, it will add to the value of the overall environmental management. So when we look at to the compliance management, one of the biggest challenge we face in industrial pollution control in industry is bringing up the compliance rate. So I would like to inform you that the compliance rate is gradually increasing in the country. If you look at the industries in Ganga Basin, our compliance rate, if I hit the industry, collect a sample, the probability of compliance is 70% nowadays. It used to be nearly 40% 7-8 years back. So we are gradually increasing the compliance. We are climbing, but we have a long way to go. While doing so, what we are doing, we are giving certain incentives. We are into the policy we are working out. If the compliance is good, our regulatory burden on the industry should reduce. Suppose if I am inspecting the industry for once in a quarter or 3 months or 4 months, every time I am finding compliance, I will increase to once in a year. And if it is still better, I will stop inspecting and unnecessarily doing a regulatory work against this industry. They will just walk in. So here in this, there is also the compliance can be in case of water, it can be voluntary compliances. So if the industry itself says that I am conserving this waste, some grading, some marking can be given so that it will add to the compliance burden. The compliance requirements can be reduced based on the measures they are being taken on ground. So this way, this water conservation measures doing. But while we are, CPCB is one of the, we only brought this concept of ZLD, zero liquid discharge in industries, about 2010, 2007, 8, and 10 onwards. When we talk about ZLD, the main objective has been, it is addressed to the streams which are difficult to treat. So actually that should have been there. It should be focused at water conservation. So what they end up in doing, most of the ZLDs we do right now is evaporating the wastewater. So especially in chemical industries and dye intermediates and pharma, we are evaporating the effluents to convert the water problem into a solid residue. So this evaporation residue salts are one of the biggest challenge for us before. So that's what I want to bring to your notice, because when we talk about ZLDs, we have to look at the sustainability of the various all corners we have to see. I cannot, I got away with the water problem, but end up with a residue which is so difficult to handle. These evaporation residues, if one drop of water falls and entire water again gets contaminated. If it spills, it is not fit for disposing into landfills because its soluble organic matter is more than 20%. It will be at least 80–90%. So we have to look at the technologies and how to handling these residues. So we have to look at the overall solutions. Again, without deviating much, coming back to this, the objective of this program, I definitely feel that this will add to value to the compliance, wastewater minimization, water conservation measures, and this kind of initiatives will always help the industry to compete with each other in showing their better environmental management. This will ultimately indirectly helps in effective compliance of overall. See, suppose if industry working well on waterfront front, we cannot say that it doesn't work in other areas. It is a culture in which the industry functions. So the overall environmental management team that is working there, they will be working on multi areas. Water is one. If they are doing good in water, we expect that they'll be doing good in overall waste management or environmental management spectrum. So this will bring a competition among the industries. It will give credit to the industries. Due crediting will help, and this will indirectly help in overall compliance atmosphere in the country. At the same time, reaching the goals of water conservation and minimizing the wastewater generation. And we are also working to work with GIG and help with GIG, and looking forward in bringing in some of the best available technologies that can be implemented in Indian industry with respect to wastewater minimization and also water conservation measures. So with these few words, I would stop here. I am available for any discussions further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vinod Babu. With that, the next one will be a vote of thanks by Mr. Halusa. Mr. Halusa, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Indras. And of course, great thanks to Mr. Bomatula for being here today, for speaking to us as a director and today's acting member secretary from the Central Pollution Control Board. Thank you for accepting our invitation for this event, for this meaningful event today. Thanks for being here with us, and of course, most of all, for speaking to us today at our event, so that now taking things forward, we have the chance to jointly promote sustainable water management in industrial settings, which of course, as we all know, is a very important activity. And I think one topic became clear through the presentations of this afternoon, and this is that it's of utmost importance that we work together, that we collaborate very, very closely on this topic. And that basically includes the public sector, of course, associations, industries, as well as the institutions of development cooperation. And we, as IGCC, of course, we are very much looking forward for many more joint activities with all of the players, all of the stakeholders in this field. And with that, I would like to thank you one more time, Mr. Vinod Babu Bomatula, for addressing us here this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Halusa. And with that, the SustainAwards 2022 on industrial water management is officially Thank you, gentlemen, for the special address, and of course the vote of thanks to all of you who have launched the SustainAward 2022 on industrial water management today. So all of you must be wondering about now, what is this SustainAward 2022 on industrial water management? So For that, I would call upon my colleague, Mr. Johannes Kochenreuter, who will give a short presentation about the award, and most importantly, how can industries apply for that award and what can they win, most importantly, on the award. Johannes, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Indras. If I'm not audible, please let me know. I think I am. So I would like to exactly touch upon a few slides today and introduce the SustainAwards 2022 in industrial water management. First of all, thank you, Indras, and also good afternoon to all the speakers. To Mr. Raghubabu, Project Director from GIZ, to our dear Director General, Stefan Halusa, all the representatives from the states, Mr. Pundia from Sitkul, Mr. Kamalakant, also Executive Director from WBIDC. Also, I would like to wish a good afternoon to Mr. Jariwala from Adani, and also to Tanvir from Harbaugh. It's really great also that we have different sectors, public and private sector here, and that the private sector could share some best practices. This is always important, I think, as a learning opportunity. So as we can see on our first slide, please, that I want to touch upon the objectives a little bit. So we, IGCC Sustain Markets, also together with the Sustainable Environment Friendly Industrial Production Program from GIZ, would like to promote innovative ideas and concepts on responsible business conduct or practices in industrial water management. With this year's edition of the SustainAwards, we would like to focus on 3 states in India: Bihar, Uttarakhand, and West Bengal. The awards also want to raise awareness about the relevance of water conservation and the sustainable usage of the resource water in industrial processes, in companies, and within industrial parks also. And among others also, we want to provide the industry with good examples to follow. And as we just heard, maybe some get inspired. Competition is raised a little bit, and by how to set up a holistic approach also on industrial water management, which I will touch upon later on the criteria. On the second slide, we see the categories. We mainly focus on 2 different groups here of entities. We focus on companies, as you can see also, and we focus on industrial parks. So from what I have come to know, and maybe someone from the audience or the speakers can correct me afterwards if I'm wrong, but I think it's the first time that some awards in India in the topic of water management will also provide a category for industrial parks. So I'm very happy also that we have made an extra category for this, because I think this is very essential also. And besides this best industrial area as a category, we also have 4 other categories, which is the best large Indian company, the best Indian SME, and then also we will provide a winners category for best large foreign company, and also for foreign SME. We will award 3 winners for every category of those 5 categories, and within all 3 states, Bihar, Uttarakhand, and West Bengal. On the next slide, one can see the eligibility. So I would emphasize that all sizes of companies and industrial parks are welcome to apply. Also, when it comes to the definition of the sizes of the companies, we follow the Indian law, which is the Company Act 2013, and also be informed that we consider all Indian subsidiaries of foreign companies that are based outside of India to be parked in the foreign companies categories, both for large and SMEs. I would also like to stress that that we don't have a specific category for micro-sized companies, but we don't want to leave out also those. So I also encourage everyone who is in a smaller company and responsible for a smaller company or the water management of a smaller company to apply. We all know that micro companies do not have so much resources available than the larger ones. It's also more difficult for them to compete. So they have to be, extra good, extra innovative also. For us, it will be very exciting to see how they manage their water setup and system in their specific environment. So there's no category reserved for those small ones, but we will make sure also if we receive enough applications that there's a proper level playing field, so to say, and we consider them running outside a certain category, and we obviously only compare them among each other. On the fourth slide, I want to touch upon the process a little bit. So there's basically four main steps. The first phase, which is the pre-assessment, we will ask everyone to provide initial first level insights on how they manage how the companies, industrial park manage their water according to the criteria I've just touched upon. Which I will still touch upon. And the candidates will be asked to provide on the first level only the aggregated information and feedback. Most of the question will be on this level, at least can be answered by yes or no to make it very accessible and applicable for everyone. We have two different applications, obviously, following the categories, which is for companies and for industrial parks. So for all different four categories of companies, there is one application form and a second one for industrial parks also. Then in the screening phase, in the second one, we will be looking very closely at all the information that has been shared and provided by the candidates. We then on this stage also need additional information. We want to ensure quality, and we will then request individually the candidates to share proof about the information that was given earlier. So proof is not only official certificates, it could also be documents, SOPs, and reports, curriculars, because we will also ask about training, internal policies, some guidelines, even videos we will accept. And also, I think it's important to inform that on that point, we have broken down further those criteria I will tell about on the next slide, from the initial level to a second deeper level, so to say, to make everyone specify their activity in more details. In the third phase, we will do site visit also to complement the self-assessment, because until that point there was only information given by the companies. So for the short list, which we until then have developed, we will go on the ground and we will see and have a look from whatever was communicated. We will document this, and we will collect this, and in the last phase, the proof that was collected on the ground and the shortlist will be provided to our 5-panel jury of independent experts from academia, from associations, from the public sector, from the development corporation. So we will have a very balanced 5-panel jury. Very clear, but still let me emphasize this: the vote of the jury will be binding at the end and final for everyone. And once this decision has been rendered, the winners will be informed and also invited to the ceremony, which is happening at the end of the year, most likely end of November in Calcutta. Now I will talk a little bit about the criteria on the next slide. So first of all, I want to share that we have tried to come up with a holistic approach. So we are not focusing only on environment, but we're also focusing on other aspects, as you can see. And before I touch upon those, I would like to add that there is a certain gate criteria, a certain it's basically a knockout criteria, because obviously all companies, industrial parks, they have to follow the Indian law. So for instance, we ask whether a company or industrial park is fully compliant with the provisions of the Water Act from 1974 and have submitted the environmental statement form 5 also. We will ask for the industry category as per the categorization of the Central Pollution Control Board and a few other things. So just to make sure we communicate and everyone is aware that the law has to be followed, and only then the other criteria will be taken and will help us to assess the performance of the companies. In the first category, the management quality, we ask about policies. We ask whether they have adopted some environmental commitments, for instance, procedures for treatment, for use, for conservation of wastewater discharge, also about standards and international voluntary or also mandatory national certification. In economy criteria, we ask about if a company has adopted any technology or measure for a green or energy efficiency, for water efficiency. Also, zero liquid discharge will be asked. Some question will be there on productivity and on achievements on cost saving, for instance, also, but also, and this is what I also mentioned earlier, holistically, whether local jobs are generated or local companies are part of the value and supply chain of the industrial parks, for instance. Environmental criteria, we will ask about whether audits have been undertaken. We ask about the source of water, the type of water was coming from, about a sewage system, whether a sewage system is in place. Also in the social criteria, we ask whether a grievance mechanism is in place, for instance, whether companies or industrial parks are contributing towards environmental or social development activities in their surrounding, like related to CSR, for instance. We also ask about training and development initiatives, and we also particularly emphasize on equal opportunity for men and women, which is also one question touching upon this topic. Infrastructure is also very important, not only for industrial parks, but also for companies. We'll ask about green belt cover. We ask about some protection measures against hazards like fire, floods, heat waves, cyclones, and so on. We ask about whether there are sustainable or resource efficient building structures, whether there is water efficient infrastructure in general, rainwater harvesting, for instance, water efficient plumbing, and so on. Last but not least, we also have an open question. I think this is very important to say also, because we are not able to cover everything. As you already heard, this is quite extensive, yes, but we also have to, with the criteria, have to ensure quality. And as it was mentioned already, we want to promote the best practices to set some industry standards here also for companies and all industrial parks. So that's why it's a very intensive questionnaire. As we cannot cover everything, like I said, there's an open question at the end where everyone can just also explain or touch upon extracurricular activities, some voluntary efforts, whether other measures are in place that are relevant. Yeah, and yeah, the next slide, if it's coming. Yes, I want to highlight quickly a few benefits also for the winners. Obviously, the winners get recognized and awarded for the title Industrial Water Champion. We also will provide a trophy and a certificate, which is recognized by the two project partners, IGCC and GIZ. This will be all given on the at the gala event in Calcutta of the SustainAwards, where we invite all the winners to participate there. All expenses will be covered on our side. I think important to let you know also is that we will have a video and we will have a publication also about all the winners, which will be shared with our vast network within India and also internationally. And for IGCC, we will also try to incorporate the winners in our next year's and maybe 2 years effort on our activities in industrial water management, which are definitely coming also. And yeah, obviously this is also a good learning for all the winners also, what the others are doing on good water management practices, and it will provide also very good network opportunities for all the participants. Next slide, please. Yes, so as I mentioned, we have come up with a questionnaire with the application forms online. This is also the point where I want to communicate that we don't accept any physical application, so everyone has to follow the virtual form. This is also to save resources and to be responsible about environment. And if you now use your mobile and scan this QR code, you will also come to our website where you will directly see the forms available. At the very end of this session, we will also have both forms directly ready for a QR code where you also can scan it. And the application period will open basically today. And the last day of your submission can only be the last day of August. So the application period will be open for around 2 months now for everyone to apply. Yes. So is there another slide? Sorry, can you next slide, please? Yes. So before we go, I think this is the wrong slide. Yeah. So let me just promote again this award. So as you could hear and also could see this, the support from different institutions in India and in the 3 states we are focusing is there. We want to encourage everyone in the participants here to apply, to use the QR code, to click on the website, to see whether it's an opportunity for everyone to just be part of the SustainAwards. And if there's any question with regards to the project or the process or the criteria or whatever I have just presented, please use the Q&A session or just send me an email. My email address is also available on IGCC website. Thank you. Back to Indras.
Thank you, Johannes. Thank you for the very in-depth overview of the award. Again, all of you who are here who could not screenshot the QR code, don't worry. We will be sending you a follow-up email on how to apply for this award. Yeah, so do check your email right after the webinar is over. Keeping in mind we are a little bit behind in terms of timing, maybe we can take 2 or 3 questions. Would that be all right with the panelists? Okay. All right. Maybe if Mr. Pundir is here, Mr. Pundir, are you still here? He seems to have Not so good connection at the moment. So maybe Mr. Kamalakan, someone asked, how do you deal with sludge from industrial parks?
Yes, please. If I understand the question correctly, somebody has asked, how do we clear the sludge from industrial parks? Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Yeah, so sludge is not coming from every industrial park. That's a point which person has asked. Maybe he's referring particularly to the iron and steel industry where a sludge is possible, or a chemical industry where a sludge is possible. Because if it is a dairy plant, then the question of a sludge doesn't arise. Now, in an iron and steel industry is mandated to have a ZLD process. So in the zero liquid discharge process, once the capacity is exhausted, the entity takes out the just as you have these machines and equipment through the mobile sewage compact movement capsules, the same way they also extract it and take it out to the landfill sites. Now the landfill sites is not typically what you expect as a garbage dump site. Now the sludge from one industry can become a raw material for the ancillary industry. So there are entities which take this to further process. As an example, we have a very large petrochemical factory in Haldia in Purva Medinipur district, Haldia Petrochemicals Limited, where the downstream process units in the plastic sector typically take the discharge or the what you say the offtake. It is not typically a liquid discharge per se. It comes as a semi solid discharge per se that is taken for processing further to these downstream ancillary units. So that way there are close to 5 lakh people employed in such downstream ancillary units which are employed. If you look at the plastic industries, West Bengal doesn't manufacture the raw material for plastics. The plastic units are typically MSME based units which take the basic plastic, these granules. Then they go into these injection molding based entities or any other process based entities. However, large companies like Wacker Metro, which are into emulsion based ones, import the required raw material. They are not manufacturing the emulsion per se here. They import the plastic, the raw material, and then go for the further processing. Their discharge doesn't come as a sludge at all. So I hope I've been able to answer the query to the gentleman who has posed this. Any specific industry or zone that you have identified or noticed, because our state, as I say, I'm speaking for the industries which are in my knowledge. If it is an industry like Steel Authority of India Limited, which has 2 large units under its presence. One is the Durgapur steel plant, one is the Burnpur steel plant. If it is shipbuilding industry like the Garden Ridge Shipbuilders, that is under the Ministry of Defense. So if there are units which are beyond my state jurisdiction, I have not visited these units, or neither my team has visited these units. But definitely the information on these units would be available with the CPCB. The Central Pollution Control Board would definitely have the exercise. If there is no efficient treatment of the discharge, whether it is in the form of a semi-solid or liquid, then definitely it will be violating the CPCB norms. So my colleague, Mr. Babu, who is the assistant acting member secretary, can also throw light on this aspect with respect to the larger units which have presence from the Government of India, various departments of Government of India. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karmalkan. Before we go to you, Mr. Vinod Babu, I would like to to Mr. Tanvir Ahmed, who has to leave, I believe. We do have a question from one of our participants. Basically, water management is often connected to big companies because of the infrastructure required. What tips do you have for small, medium companies who want to manage their water efficiently and economically? Very quickly, Mr. Tanvir, if you can answer.
Mr. Indra, can you repeat the question? I couldn't understand your question. It is very hard to understand.
So someone in the participant wanted to ask for small and medium companies who are looking to manage their water efficiently and economically, what can they do to start with?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you have to, I mean, first of all, you have to, I think you have to calculate that how much water you are using or producing and how much you are, wasting. So this is the calculation we have to do. And then in terms of, I mean, I don't know, this question is subject to technology, or it is, I don't know, because in terms of technology, then we can see how we can guide them, advise them which technology can they use. But primarily, we have to know that how much water I am consuming or I am using for particular issues, and then how we can save the water, how we can again reuse the water. So this is basically the first question need to be answered. And in terms of technology, then we can talk about that which type of wastewater you are producing. It is a heavy metal, or it is just iron, or any other. So I don't know. So
yeah. I think that's quite a broad question. So I think the first thing to do is, like you said, you need to take a look at how much your consumption is, and
I have to know the raw water parameters, and then we can suggest in terms of generalized. Then we have to know the how much water is in production or in using. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tanvir. To you, Mr. Vinod Babu. The same question maybe regarding sludge. Also, somebody in the audience want to know what are the financial incentives for industries to move towards zero liquid discharge. I think this question has to do with a little bit regulatory incentive from financial perspective. If you can give me your quick answer, please.
Yes, it is coming to the sludges. As per our prevailing regulation, the industrial estates are not required to generate sludges as a whole. They need not be a separate arrangement for managing the sludges in industrial estate, as already explained by Kanukanji. Each industry was given consent to manage their sludges and waste, so they have to follow the corresponding rules notified under the Act. The next point is regarding the incentives. As I said, our incentive in the terms of compliance to the standard is the main objective of a regulator like pollution control boards, SPCBs, and state pollution control board. But as I said in my presentation earlier, in established compliance, if you give a confidence that you are complying and you are taking measures like water conservation, this will help in branding the image of the industry, and over long term they will earn credits of a good complying industry that will help in their compliance with respect to in the eyes of the pollution control boards. These units are performing better. They are their requirements. It has been recorded in their inspection reports. Maybe in future we will be coming up with the online based inspection, what you call it, record of archive of compliances. If we have that, these measures are recorded there, and this will always give a credit and the image of the industry. That will help indirectly as far as regulation is concerned. Right now, we do not have any scheme to monetize the practices there.
I see. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. So I think the message is clear. Don't focus on the financial incentive, but look at it from long-term investment on water management. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for the very insightful session today. Keeping in mind we are a little bit behind, I would like now to conclude this session with remarks from Mr. Stefan Halusa again and Mr. Raghu Babu Nukala. Maybe Mr. Halusa, you can start, and then Mr. Raghu Babu can follow.
Yeah, before Raghu sir starts, may just one point may add. I thought I will speak about that, if you permit.
Sure, certainly, sure.
Okay, yeah. So in the presentation of Mr. Johannes, I've seen that it is a system of assessment is given. One thing is very important, I thought, is giving a transparency in evaluation. So if somebody wants to see their scores, how it is done, maybe if it is possible to give a transparent platform to look at the scoring system, number one. And number two, maybe you can give a overall scoring and make it public. For example, X industry, X1 industry, XN industry. So give the score in decreasing order or increasing order, top 20. You can start as top 20, 40, but only 1, 2, 3 may take prize away. But they know at least that they are in top 20 or top 30. That may.
Yes, thank you for this for the amendments. I have not touched upon this. True, we will actually we have planned out our application form very thoroughly, and yes, we have a certain points measurement system where we will give every candidate in every category and then on the second level subcategory certain points to evaluate, and we will be transparent about it also. So point well taken. Thank you so much for your for the suggestion.
Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Mr. Anderson.
Okay, sir.
Can anybody hear me? Because I look into frozen faces right now. Okay, okay. Thank you very much. You know, in light of the time, I guess I want to keep it very short. For me, and I guess for all the participants, it was a greatly informative afternoon to hear all the different contributions that are being made by the various stakeholders in terms of water management. I mean, if you look at it, resource management in general is going to be not only the challenge of the hour, but the challenge of the decades to come, because we always have to balance on the one hand side to make sure that the people, that everyone has the chance to earn their livelihoods, and of course we are, and people want to increase their standard of living. That comes with higher resource usage, and at the same time we have to keep on looking at how we can do this without harming the environment, and with managing our resources in a way, and our planet in a way that we can see this growth in a sustainable manner. And that challenge obviously is here to stay for a very long time. I would like to thank all the contributors of today. As I said, it takes all of us to make a difference and to produce results. We're doing our share at IGCC. We have our Sustain Markets team with Johannes and Indras who are present here. They are providing services to enlarge the sustainability portfolio of our members. We are supporting, promoting, and facilitating sustainable business practices and inclusive growth. We're providing capacity building and training. So please look at our website, visit us, contact us if you have any concerns, any topics, any questions. We'll be happy, very happy to answer those questions. I would like to one more time thank Mr. Vinod Babu Bumatula for being with us today, and all the other speakers from the public and the private sectors to support this event, and hopefully going forward many more events, and specifically the SustainAwards. I would very much like to thank our partner GIZ. I heard from the team so far that the collaboration is going very, very well, and I thank you for that. And of course, together we are determined to extend the activities on water management and other resource management in the coming years, and you will see much more than on our website. You will hear from us through other channels of communication. Last, but of course not least, I want to encourage all the participants who participated today in West Bengal, Uttarakhand, and Bihar to take a look at the SustainAwards, and hopefully you will find an opportunity for you to register and to apply, and then hopefully get recognized for your efforts on being an industrial water champion. With that, I would like to give back by thanking one more time all participants. I wish you a great rest of the day. I'm in Germany. My rest of the day is still a bit longer than yours, so I'm wishing everyone already a very good evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Halusa. Mr. Raghu Babu, for the last time, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you for the honor for giving the last word to me. Yeah, thank you all for being here, all the distinguished participants. I'm quite happy that finally we are one step closer to making the SustainAwards a reality. I've been discussing about this topic for quite some time now, saying that regulatory actions and control is not just one way forward. It's very important for us to go for on the promotional side, encourage the industries and make it attractive for industries to go one step further. In fact, I heard during my own visits to the companies, many of them asking, so why do we have to go one step further? What do we get out of it? Yeah. So I think today with the discussions and with your participation, with your physical presence, Mr. Stefan Halusa, you being throughout here, and the team that has been quite active, Indras and Johannes, and we have good representation from CPCB, Mr. Vinod Babu and Mr. Tirumurthy, and Mr. Kamalakant representing West Bengal IDC as an executive director. We know him, he has been quite proactive in taking a lot of good measures in WB IDC, and his presence also shows to us the interest coming from the Industrial Development Agency, and Mr. Tanvir also showing us how proud they are with their industrial estates, and that's the reason we also wanted to think about introducing awards for the industrial parks. I think we have to also consider the industrial parks as a cluster that will facilitate a lot of good infrastructure and services and make the whole operations more sustainable, and that will be a good way forward. In fact, we had discussed also with a couple of organizations earlier to introduce awards for the industrial estates. Much of it was left with discussions and nothing much more beyond that. But as all of us know, it's much more beneficial for the companies and for the environment to invest on industrial parks. It's also good for the industrial development agencies to invest on the parks, because that adds value. It makes business more efficient and economical for the individuals instead of operating at their own premises and organizing all services. Yeah, the discussions to me were very positive, and I'm thankful to IGCC for this kickoff event today. And thank you one and all who have participated, and looking forward. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Positive discussion, positive launch, and hopefully a very positive Sustain Award on industrial water management. I would like to thank you again to all participants, Mr. Vinod Babu, Mr. Kamalakan, Mr. Tirumurthy, Mr. Pundir, and of course the industry representative as well, Mr. Tanvir Ahmed and Mr. Sneha Jariwala. Thank you all for being a part of this kickoff event, and do apply for our Sustain Award. I wish all of you a wonderful evening ahead. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks everyone. Bye-bye. Good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good evening.